Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Philly Factor. I'm Paul Perrello. Well, it's that time of year again for things to go bump in the night. And what was a celebration that when I was growing up was only celebrated once out of the year. The whole thing of witches, ghosts, goblins, werewolves has really become a month-long celebration, regardless of where you are, whether it's Philadelphia or clear across the other side of the country. It's that time again for the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour. One part history, two parts haunt. Joining us again to talk about that tour, as well as some of the other great things that he has going, is Jonathan Bari from Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour. Jonathan, I want to welcome you back to the program. I know that we're going to get into the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour. You also have the Constitutional Walking Tour that we're going to discuss. But I think we're going to spend at least the opening salvo of the program talking about something that's very near and dear to your heart, and that's just plain doing business in the Old City area. You've been doing this now, the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour, for how many years?
Since 2006 timeframe.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay. So while we get into the tours in a moment, all the vendors in Independence National Historical Park appear to be treated fairly and equally. But one of the missions that you wanted to come and talk to us about today was, I guess, doing business and fighting for that fairness and equality for vendors in Old City. So while on the surface it appears that it's, I'll say, business as usual, maybe it isn't business as usual. So give me a little bit about the relationship of how you are able to carry out these tours in Old City and what you would like to see, I guess, improved.
Great. Well, thanks for having me again. I'm thrilled to be here today to come back to our annual tradition.
That's right.
As you had said, we run the Constitutional Walking Tour as well as the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour. And we operate out of the Independence National Historical Park area, which is run by the National Park Service. It's around 50 acres in an urban environment. The National Park Service runs over 390 national parks. Most people think of Yosemite or Yellowstone or Valley Forge or the wilderness-type parks, but there are urban parks in Philadelphia, and Independence Park is one of them. So what we're lobbying for right now is we're lobbying for fair and equitable treatment by the National Park Service to abide by existing regulations called the Concessions Management Act.
Okay.
And so 390 different national parks around the country, when a concession is awarded, and that could be for accommodations, it could be for food and beverage, it could be for tours, it could be for equipment and supplies. When any type of concession is awarded, it's awarded through a concessions process that's fair and transparent and competitive and appealable. However, in Philadelphia, we don't do that. The law is not followed here in terms of the Concessions Management Act. When Congress passed this in 1998, Congress really wanted to get away from the indiscriminate and unfair regulation of concessions, or awarding of concessions, I should say. And so, to your point from before, that is there fairness or is there not, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. From our perspective, in Philadelphia, they're awarded through backroom deals at the Independence Visitor Center, and we don't think that that should be done. We think it should be following the Concessions Management Act, existing laws that govern every other national park throughout the entire country.
So are there other vendors, and I'm assuming that you would fit into the category of the vendor because you're looking to do business there, and what the business is tourism. You're looking to run tours through Independence National Historical Park. So are there other organizations that are up against the same dilemma, if you will, when it comes to doing business with the Park Service?
Great question. Some are, and because some have gone out of business. So let me step back for a moment and just give you that big overview as to what the Constitutional Walking Tour Philadelphia does. We go on a 75-minute outdoor walking adventure to provide a primary overview of Independence Park. So we see 20 of the most historic sites, and the idea is to do a loop through the area, and then visitors, if they're interested, can go in the sites that are of most interest to them and see it in more depth. But it's to really showcase the breadth of history at Independence Park. So are there other vendors at the Independence Visitor Center? Sure, there are some preferred providers down there who don't believe that the Concessions Act should be followed because they're getting everything that they want through preferred contracts. There are other vendors who have unfortunately gone out of business because they just have simply been unable to compete with that. We've kept going, but still don't think that it's fair and think that it should be an equal playing field, and a level playing field for that matter.
So when you talk about, I guess, preferred services, are they getting access to areas that you're otherwise being shut out of, or are they allowed to operate different hours, different days? So give me an idea of what some of the stumbling points are here.
Great question. So through regulation, the National Park Service has stipulated that concessions can't take part in many places of the park except inside the visitor center. Mm-hmm. Inside the visitor center, certain sales booths have been offered to certain parties like Ride the Ducks or Philadelphia Trolley Works, and they were never offered to other third parties until years after the fact. And then when they were offered on terms that were just not fair, meaning that you could be 100 yards further back in a building where no one would ever find you, and you'd pay the same price as other vendors there. So what we say is that it should all be fair. It should be a level playing field. For a tour business like ours to be successful, you need visibility and accessibility, and that's what we've wanted and that's what we've lobbied for. Never asked for special treatment. We've asked for equal treatment.
Okay. I know you have sent a letter, and it's probably one of many letters you've sent to Congressman Bob Brady in the hopes of getting his attention and trying to turn things around for that fair and equal treatment.
Well, Congressman Brady has been very supportive of us over the years, and he's reached out even to Secretary of the Interior, Ken Salazar, to express his dismay at how unfair the Independence Visitor Center operates today in terms of preferential contracts and awards to third-party vendors that are even out-of-the-market vendors. They're not locally owned and operated like the Constitutional Walking Tour. What we would like to have done is we would like legislation to be revised governing the Independence Visitor Center and expressly stating that they're subject to existing laws governing concessions in national parks that would require them, in order to award concessions, to abide by the fair, transparent, competitive, and appealable processes that are in place and work well, seemingly, at every other national park across the country.
So has this then caused you and other groups, and I know you can only talk about your group, but has this prompted you then, since you don't have this availability to work out of the Independence National Visitor Center, that's why your tours have a perhaps different start and end location? Most often when we talk about the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour, we usually start at 4th and Walnut outside of Cozy. Is that one of the things that you're forced to do, with all due respect to the folks at Cozy that allow you to use them as your departure point? You're looking to perhaps have a more centralized, or what would be a fair and equal departure point along with the other tours?
It's a very good question. It's a complicated question. But suffice it to say, we would love a much greater presence inside and outside of the visitor center, comparable to other third-party locations and tour operators. Mm-hmm. And to that end, today we've shifted all operations outside of the visitor center, don't operate at all with the visitor center anymore, and we operate outside of the National Constitution Center. Where we've been impacted is in terms of our public tours, so for walk-up sales. So if someone's visiting from Cincinnati, staying at the Marriott, wanting to walk down the street, take a tour, they're not going to find us that easily, and then they're not going to be able to buy a ticket that easily, except buying it online or on the phone. Mm-hmm. With the Spirits 76 Ghost Tour, we purposely chose Cozy, and they chose us. Great partner, and we really benefit each other. We bring in a lot of customers for food and beverage, and we get a lot of their food and beverage customers to take our tours. However, there's nothing out there in the marketplace that's comparable to the economic impact that the Independence Visitor Center has. Mm-hmm. To give you some background on it, it is a 50,000 square foot facility owned by the federal government, built on federal land with federal tax dollars. So we think that it should be governed by existing concessions laws. And when we've been in there, we've been relegated literally to the back wall, more than 425 feet away from the main entrance, long after any visitor would get to many other tour operators before they would get to us, let's say.
So I know you have probably voiced your displeasure then, and probably have asked to be showcased closer, or at least up where everybody else is. And what has been the reaction from the visitor center?
It's a lot of obfuscation. It's a lot of double talk here. And this is a company, the Independence Visitor Center Corporation, that's received close to $10 million in federal funding, $850,000 per year in terms of funding to this clandestine organization that all decisions are secret, the management's secret, the board's secret, etc., So it's been very frustrating in that. And basically we've just run into brick wall after brick wall.
So you've decided to close up shop at the visitor center and move elsewhere. Ultimately, how would you like to see this situation resolved?
You know, in 2006, when we began the guided tours for the Constitutional Walking Tour out of the Independence Visitor Center, we were the top-selling attraction in the Visitor Center. 20% of every ticket sale went to the Visitor Center Corporation to help support their operations. In 2007, we were shown the door. We fully moved out in 2011 time period. What we would love is we'd love to start working with them on a fair and equal playing field and to receive fair and equitable treatment to the third-party vendors that are down there.
Right. So I guess this remains to see how it will continue to play out, but nonetheless, something that we'll continue to watch in the weeks, months, and hopefully not years ahead. Hopefully this thing gets resolved sooner as opposed to later. So let's talk about then the two tours that you're currently running. And as I said at the outset of the program, is that Halloween used to be a one-night-a-year celebration, and then it quickly became a few days, then maybe it was a week. But it seems to me that we start in late September, go through October. But I know what you do is almost, I don't want to say year-round, because that would probably not be fair, but the majority of the year, you're running tours. And so what has become pretty much Halloween-centric has really become, I mean, if you're looking just to take a stroll, a leisurely stroll through the city and see some of the haunts, if you will, around Old City, this is a tour for you.
Absolutely. I mean, so by way of background, we do the Constitutional Walking Tour. We do the Spirit 76 Ghost Tour. They are available, in fact, year-round because demand warrants it for private groups, whether it's students from LaSalle, whether it's a Boy Scout group, whether it's a school group from California visiting. It doesn't matter, a corporate group from Omaha. We offer tours year-round. To the public, we operate April through November. Most of the year for the Spirits 76 Ghost Tour, which you said is one part history and two parts fun, it's really such a great tour that's for visitors. Mm-hmm. This time of year in the fall every year, locals say, let me just rediscover what's in my backyard here. Mm-hmm. And we go to some of the homes and the grave sites, which are allegedly haunted, and tell the great tales from there. We're clever, we're entrepreneurial, we try and look for opportunities in the marketplace. One of the other opportunities we have right now is that we're starting something called the Yellow Fever Tour.
Okay.
And it's actually based in part on the real-life tragedy of the yellow fever epidemic of 1793 and inspired in part by the historical fiction work by Laurie Halsey Anderson called Fever 1793. And we're thrilled to be launching that this coming spring, and it's going to be an amazing tour showcasing the yellow fever epidemic, where we show you some of the places and we discuss some of the people that were impacted by this yellow fever epidemic.
It's amazing that you can, what you're basically doing is taking a tour and just putting a new spin or a different spin on the tour. So, so for people that may have taken, whether it's this year or last year or maybe even, a few years ago, the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour, you might want to take the Constitutional Walking Tour because of this new element that's been added to the tour where, you can learn something about the yellow fever epidemic that played out in Philadelphia, not only in Philadelphia, but in many of the major cities back in the 1800s.
Yeah, I mean, what happened here in 1793 was devastating, and to give you that little tease on it, it killed around 5,000 people here in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia became a ghost town because people were fleeing left and right. And it was this perfect storm created by a very wet and moist spring and a fertile breeding ground for mosquitoes, which wound up spreading that yellow fever, based in part on the yellow fever that was brought in from refugees from the Caribbean, as legend and folklore in fact have it.
So that will be launched in the spring then, correct?
We'll be launching that in the spring.
Okay. So when we told, I want to go back to the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour because this has been pretty much, the first one that you've done, and I think the one that's most recognizable and most people may be familiar with. But how do you keep that fresh? How do you keep that going beyond the typical haunting season, if you will?
Well, we regularly conduct ghost investigations and paranormal investigations, and we go back to those homes, we go back to those grave sites, and we search for evidence of the paranormal there. We do that really to enhance as well as to verify the various stories that we have. Plus, we have a legion of loyal followers and customers who come back regularly take the tour, document what they see, ask us what we think about it, and we constantly look for new stories to integrate, and we do every year. But in order to learn all the differences, you got to come back on the tour.
Sure. And I know one of the things, because I know many people do go on the tour, and they very much say they experience, because I haven't done the tour, and I haven't seen or felt anything, although I'm still trying to get up the courage to come out and do the tour. But some people that, after they've taken the tour, have shared their photos, they've told you about their experiences, and, it just makes for, I guess, an overall exciting package, if you will, because you never know what you're going to expect when you're going out on these tours.
You never know what you're going to expect. Things that do go bump in the night, literally and figuratively. And, just like we talked about before, that equality is in the eye of the beholder, so too is, belief in the paranormal.
Yeah.
And while I haven't personally seen any evidence out there, in terms of my first person encounter, I certainly know that there are a lot of people out there who appreciate this, who are very invested in this, and really, spend time investigating and analyzing it.
Yeah. I know that you actually had, we did a show previously last year with paranormal investigators that have gone out there with the equipment, not necessarily as part of the tour, but they've worked for you in going out there and documenting some of these situations that have presented themselves. And I think even, if my memory serves me correct, they even have recorded voices, if you will, as they're doing their work investigating some of these paranormal sightings.
Right. So as we investigate, we enhance and we verify, and we do that through various recordings, and we got that through, electronic voice recognition and electromagnetic field detection and infrared thermometer temperature changes and various other methods and manners that we use to document and to search for the paranormal. We did find some interesting things last year at Old Pine Street and St. Mary's Church and Cemetery.
How about that? Yeah. So, again, there's no guarantee that you're going to have this experience, but to think that you might have the experience might cause people to get the courage up to take the tour. And if not, you are on a pretty nice tour through the streets of Philadelphia, Old City, and maybe if you've taken a tour of Old City during the day, you want to try taking a tour of Old City at night, where I guess the perspective and the dynamic dramatically changes, especially this time of year.
It can, and we offer various ways to experience the city at night. So one is with a live guided tour, one is with an audio tour that you can download and listen to on your own, music player, etc. And then the other way is we offer a VIP ghost hunt where you can actually take the ghost hunt equipment out and search for yourself.
Really?
So we do this for special birthdays, special occasions, reunions, etc. And it's a wonderful way to, walk the Old City streets and search for the spirits.
One other thing I want to mention here is that people can actually, and whether you want to take the tour as part of, a family or a group, but you also have, I guess, like corporate groups that go out throughout the year.
Absolutely.
So if there's a group or if you're planning an event and, there's, as part of a convention, a meeting, or whatever it is, they can actually take some of these tours outside the parameters of a regular tour that's operating.
Absolutely. And so year-round, many different corporations that are either headquartered here with customers, clients, or employees coming in, as well as various conventions and the like and meetings, as well as just others coming to Philadelphia for various retreats. We do various corporate work for them. And in fact, yesterday we had a major chemical company come out with 80 of their own attorneys to do one of our scavenger hunt programs, which is another great experience that we offer.
Yeah. Give me an idea where the tours start, and now, do the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour and the Constitutional Walking Tour both have the same departure point and arrival point?
No, they don't. Great question.
Okay.
So the Constitutional Walking Tour Philadelphia begins at National Constitution Center, which is at 5th and Arch, right in front of the main entrance. And more information can be found at theconstitutional.com or phillywalk.com. And the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour starts at the Cozy Restaurant at 4th and Chestnut Street, and you can get more information at spirits of76.com. And both of them make a loop and finish where they started for all intents and purposes.
Okay. And again, I think we've been putting the information up on the screen as to where you get more information about both of the tours. And with the Constitutional Walking Tour, Field Trips of Historic Philadelphia, these tours also, are these tours just in the spring, the Constitutional Walking Tours, or they're also year-round?
Yep. year-round with advance reservations for groups, and for the public, April through November.
Okay. What about the tour guides, whether they're taking you on the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour or the Constitutional Walking Tour? In order to really enhance or have the perfect experience, if you will, it's really important that the tour guides know what it is they're talking about and telling people what to look for while they're taking the tour. So how much preparation or training do the tour guides go through in order to be the representative to make sure that the person who's on the tour gets the best experience out of the trip?
You know, what we put forth are authentic, real guides with authentic, real stories. And they go through the Independence Immersion Training Program that we created. It's a proprietary training experience, and we only take the best of the best, and then only the best of that best will survive and graduate from the Independence Immersion Training Program. So we teach them through scripts, through audio tours, through actually going and playing tourists, to giving practice tours numerous times, to answering questions and the like, to really get them up to speed. And
is there a test that they have to take in order to graduate the training program?
There is. It's an oral test.
Really?
They have to give, normally they give around 4 tours to our senior staff, and then the last tour is given to me.
And so if you want to get on Jonathan's good side, you better have your information down pat. You better make sure you have the information correct. These tours really offer a different experience of seeing the Philadelphia, whether it's this time of year or even in the spring. And I'm really, really intrigued about the Yellow Fever tour that is going to start in the spring. So you're constantly evaluating, reevaluating, tweaking these tours because you want to keep it fresh, you want to keep it real, you want to continue to build upon this tremendous base of operation that you've had now for a number of years. So what other areas are you looking at in terms of where you can create different tours or different experiences down the road?
Well, one of the things we also do is we offer bus tours of Philadelphia.
Okay.
So we don't have our own buses. We do what's called step-on guides. And literally our tour guides step onto a motor coach of a bus that came here from another city, another state, what have you, and they give a river-to-river city tour, so they get to see not only the historic district, but the art museum and Eastern State and the Love Statue and the like. So we constantly look at new areas. And we're also exploring some other cities as well where we can extend and leverage our brands. And those are walkable cities on the Eastern Seaboard, let's say that.
So I'm thinking Baltimore has got to be one of them, and of course Baltimore's got its own lineage of ghost experiences, most notably. I mean, there's been that ongoing debate as to where does Edgar Allan Poe really belong, Philadelphia or Baltimore. But that makes perfect sense. So if somebody's watching right now and they know that they have a relative that's coming to Philadelphia on a bus tour from another destination, they can recommend that they can enlist the services of your organization to have that tour guide step onto the bus, and then he or she's taking them across the city.
Right. And this is one where if they want more information, they can go to phillybybus.com and take a look at what we do and our route and the services that we provide there.
And all of these walking tours are handicap accessible, so if a person is in a wheelchair, whether they're being pushed or it's a motorized scooter or whatever, the paths are pretty well defined, and people can travel with a relatively good ease on these paths.
Notwithstanding some areas that are cobblestone, but we try and avoid those, obviously,
in
the case that we have someone who needs to avoid them.
Yep, absolutely. Or just even walking on cobblestones for a regular person is even a little bit challenging. But what a way to really experience Philadelphia like you've never seen it before with the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour, and of course the Constitutional Walking Tour. And with the Constitutional Walking Tour, what are some of the sites that you take along on that route?
So we start at the National Constitution Center. We go to the Declaration House where Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. We see the core or the quintessential sites, Liberty Bell, Independence Hall, Betsy Ross House, Carpenter's Hall. And Carpenter's Hall is such a great one because most people don't know the significance of Carpenter's Hall. And it was there that the Declaration of Rights and Grievances was drafted against King George in response to the Boston Tea Party. So we tell some of those little-known stories that get lost among some of the bigger sites out there. Then we go to Franklin's home and Franklin's grave and Christ Church and many other sites along the way.
So chances are that, while there may be some overlap with the two tours, with some of the locations, the Constitutional Walking Tour is going to take you on some places that you might not otherwise see or travel if you're doing the ghost tour.
So the Constitutional operates pretty much in a loop north of Chestnut Street, and the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour principally operates in a loop south of Chestnut Street. So there's a little bit of overlap with the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall, but other than that, the Constitutional is a historical-based tour, and the Spirits is a folklore-based tour.
So what has been the reaction of people, whether they're from Philadelphia or visitors to the area? I mean, they must be dropping you emails. They must be calling and saying, "Hey, this was the best experience I've ever had when I've come to Philadelphia."
We're very fortunate. We receive great feedback from our customers, occasionally not so great, but we address all that because that's how we constantly improve our tour. But by and large, people love it. They didn't know that it was there because to best see Philadelphia, you really need to walk it. It's not one of those things that you can do a ride by, say, well, on your right, folks, is the Independence Hall, and on the left is the Liberty Bell, and if you're on the opposite side, come back in 10 years and make sure you get to see the Independence Hall. Philadelphia needs to be walked.
Well, and the fact of the matter is that Old City, where your tours primarily are played out, is, they call it the most historic square mile in America. And it is a very easily navigated part of town. I mean, it's all confined in that Old City area, so it makes it a very easy destination to walk and see.
I mean, Philly is best seen by foot, and we'd argue that Philly is best seen by the Constitutional Walking Tour and the Spirits of 76 Ghost Tour.
All right. Well, it's been a fast half hour, and I want to thank Jonathan Bari for being with us. And again, for more information, you can check out the website again is
theconstitutional.com,
right,
or spirits of76.com.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Some great information. If you're looking to see Philadelphia in a different way, in a different light, check out the two tours. And we thank you so much for watching us here on the Philly Factor. Until the next time, I'm Paul Perrello. Have a great day.